know what is problem with LinkedIn. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Hmm.
Let's go live on YouTube itself. No other choice that we have. What is problem with LinkedIn. Uh, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, where it has picked up. But let's go live on YouTube itself. No other choice that we have. LinkedIn. Okay, so I think we are live on YouTube. Okay, great. All right, we can start.
Right.
So great. I think we can start with our discussion for today. So welcome to our coach pod life. So I'm your host Abhijit Jagtap, therapeutic coach and founder of Wisdom Seed. We are not here only to talk about the mental wellness, but we are trying to transfer real tools for change. Today we begin with a bold new series titled like Unlearning Emotional Controls. And this is an first attempt to understand what is the topic that we are trying to encapsulate in this particular 1 hour of our discussion. So the first episode talks about shut up and feel, why language blocks healing. Now this is not a gimmicky part of a thing. It is necessary shift from overthinking emotions to actually processing them somatically. Somatically, when I talk about, is through your body. So I'm honored to have someone with me who have lived and taught this particular wisdom deeply. So meet Dr. Shalini Bhatnagar with me. She is a homeopathic physician. She is pursuing her research in sleep as a part of her master's in yoga. And she is also mastering the stillness technique. So she brings in a rare blend of science, silence, deep spiritual grounding. Her work is rooted into Yoga Nidra, Upanishad, and lifelong commitment for inner stillness. So today, what we're going to explore together. So we're going to explore like why language often protect us from actual feeling, how trauma live in our body, not in the story, and how silence, breath, and witnessing can bring what one explained very well to stay with us. Okay, so this is something that we are trying to discuss in particular point in time. So over to you, Dr. Shalini. This is a topic, and when we heard about this particular topic, like shut up and feel, what was your first thought, and what came to your mind?
So the first thing I thought was that this is good that somebody has come up with something so on the on the spot, because I think we need to keep quiet and literally shut up and absorb the emotion, whatever it is that we are feeling. That
Mhm.
is the first thing that came to my mind. That it is very important to completely feel what you are feeling. So there is
Mm.
a saying that enjoy what there is to enjoy and suffer what there is to suffer. So, as it is important to live in the moment and enjoy whatever is happening, whatever is we are encountering at that moment, it is equally important to completely, be absorbed in the suffering equally. We
Mm.
should not try to immediately, turn the suffering into something more positive, which would help us feel better for that moment. Because if we
Right.
have not lived through the suffering and if we have not absorbed it in totality, we will not be able to
Mm.
transcend it. So that is the
True.
main. I think you can add more light in terms of your therapeutic, your psychological prospect, if you want to add,
Good.
right?
Yes, yes. So you have rightly said, definitely we really fast forward ourselves, or we try to suppress or invent an escapism in terms of processing our feelings. So I want to explain a bit on why explaining your feeling is not equal to processing them. Now, when I say processing them, is we explain and we intellectualize control over the feelings. Now, people will say, yeah, that is how we have to do, right? When you have a feeling part of a part of a brain, and you have a thinking part of a brain. So if I want to talk anatomy of the brain itself, the thinking
Right.
brain is your prefrontal cortex to
Correct.
make sense, sense of something, and your emotional brain is a limbic system. wherein all your emotions are, guided, and where you feel those emotions, and where the hormones are being, pumped into your blood in order to feel those kind of emotions in through your body. And which are like, we really don't process this as much as possible, because if we are feeling anxiety, we make sure that we are distracting ourselves into our mobile phones. If we are feeling anxiety, we would go for antidepressants. If we are feeling certain kind of tension in our body, we try to vent it out in some other way. But let's take an example, like, in our regular corporate offices, like when we feel like I'm feeling anxiety because my boss ignored me. So what happens over here, that I feel anxiety. Okay, what we say, you have named it and linked it to an event, but your body is still tight. Your stomach feels that knot, or you replay it all day. You
Right.
intellectualize it, like I'm feeling anxious, but your body has the score of it. Okay, so you understand the emotion, but you haven't released it. We understand emotion because intellectualization of any emotion is just giving a label. And when you give a label, most of the time what happens, we if you give a label and then we what we say, yes, that's it, that's my work is done, and let me just get diverted to something else, and the body is still into that particular phase. So when we see at processing, okay, letting the emotion move through, because to be very honest, our brains are not a happiness creating tools. They are not the tool to create happiness. Brain is a kind of a radar system. We are designed, the brain has been designed in such a way that it would assure your survival. It is not going to assure you, are you happy or not? Happiness is the outcome of what you try to achieve and what has been given to you, or your senses, what they feel. But when we look at our brain as the master, or when we go with the problem, when we see emotion as a problem, that is the main problem. So what your brain does, it started looking at emotion as a problem and start solving it. This is where the actual processing doesn't happen. It is just a loop that you create, the intellectual loop that is called as cognitively understanding emotions. And this is where I feel that a lot many people try to identify a spree or just a kind of a fluctuation in your mood to a certain kind of illness which is not yet into your system. It is just one flux that has happened, but we tend to just say that, okay, I have an OCD, I have an depression. These are really heavy words. I
Mm.
have an OCD. These are really heavy words. We tend to intellectualize a certain emotion into a certain space, but the processing of the emotion is letting emotion move through your body. And this is where I feel Dr. Shalini would be in very good position to make us feel and understand what is the stillness that she is trying to, understand and put her into practice. So, do you have any kind of technique, whatever I have told on the anatomy of the brain and how our brain actually handle it, and what kind of stillness techniques that you are teaching right to your, clients right now, which are dealing with this kind of emotions?
Right. So, Abhijit, like you very rightly explained the anatomy of the brain, I would just like to
Hmm.
add a little bit to it. The brain is
Yeah.
developed from backward to forwards, right? So,
Hmm.
first it's
Hmm.
the part behind. So, the limbic would be developed first, and only later your frontal part of the brain develops. And that is why we as human beings are more intellectual, right? Because it's happening later. It's only after first or second year of the child, when the
Right.
frontal cortex actually starts to develop
Hmm.
fully. And that is why we are the superior beings, right? That is the reason, because
Hmm.
we have it more
Hmm.
developed than other beings in the world. So when we are talking about absorbing the emotion, the best way to do is again to actually activate our prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex
Hmm.
is right above our eyes, if we talk about this part of the forehead. And as per yogic philosophy, there is a nerve called the vagal nerve. I'm sure you must have heard of it. It is also
Yeah.
known as the healing nerve. It is the longest nerve in the parasympathetic nervous system, which runs
Hmm.
right from the midbrain down to the entire body. So each and every organ of the body receives a part of the vagus nerve. And the good part of the vagus nerve is that 80% of the vagal nerve's fibers are afferent, meaning they're moving from the body towards the brain, which
Hmm.
means that we can control them. Okay,
mm,
so what does vagal nerve do is it is responsible for stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps in rest and rejuvenation of the body. Okay,
true. Mm,
so when we say that 80% of that is something which you can control, I think that is a huge bit which lies in our own hands, or how
mm,
effectively we
mm,
can control our emotions. In
mm, mm,
Stillness Technique, which I have co-founded, what we are doing is taking you to a space of absolute physical stillness first, right? So we sit quietly, and I will just demonstrate it in a while, but just to
mhm,
explain it, we sit quietly and we still all the parts of our body. When we are physically still and not moving for a few minutes, naturally our next where would our next impulse go? It would go to the mind, right? So because we
right.
are physically not doing anything, when we are in minimal movement, the only
Mm,
movement happening is of our breath, which of course is essential. So the
mm,
moment we touch on our thoughts, and we that is where we move to witnessing the thoughts, right? So the
mm,
thoughts would
mm,
cloud, they would come and they would go. And if we just let them be, gradually we are able to reach a state of minimal thought also. So the
mm, mm,
minimal physical activity gradually leads to minimal mental activity. And when
mm,
there is a union of the stillness in the mind and the body, that is when the healing is kind of
mm,
accelerated. Okay, so healing would begin the moment you're sitting quietly and the moment you are absorbed in the thought. Once you have completely kind of breathed into the symptom that you're feeling for that moment, you would have instigated your vagal nerve through your deep breathing. Okay,
right.
and when you have done that, next level is you would go to your thoughts, which again would have, minimized gradually, of course, with practice. And that is when the healing begins. So,
Mm,
any emotion, if you are able to dissociate from it and look
mm,
at it
mm,
as if, like we tell the children that you are not bad, what you did
mm,
was bad, right?
mm,
So,
mm,
we are trying to separate them from what they did. So, the action or the emotion, whatever we feel, if we are able to separate ourselves from it, we are able to look at it, in a more kind of from the top, right? We are able to view it in a larger picture, and then we will be able to again intellectualize it maybe later. But once we've completely felt it and seen the bigger picture of it, obviously the healing would be accelerated. That is the whole concept of sitting quietly. But
right.
before that, I would really like to talk about the vagal nerve also, that
Mm, mm,
how beautifully and how easily, just by stimulating the vagal nerve, we can actually control our thoughts and our emotions.
mm.
Yeah. So, should we demonstrate, or do you want to talk a little bit more about? Uh,
Surely, we will put this is a very beautiful one because vagal nerve and understanding the different aspects like fight, flight, freeze, what we have the response to any stress situation, wherein
that is
vagal
the
nerve.
sympathetic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is the
sympathetic,
sympathetic.
parasympathetic. Yeah,
Correct.
sympathetic and parasympathetic. So parasympathetic is
Correct.
where we are trying to regulate our emotions, where we are trying to, soothe our emotions, and definitely the psychosomatic or exercises which are there, which actually go into that particular realm where we stop our whatever the input that has been given to us, a stress signal that goes, and how to not to interrupt, but how to understand and divert it to a more calmer state. It is just telling our body that we are safe. That is what we are trying to make sure through different kind of psychosomatic exercises. And one thing that I want to just add to this particular part, when we talked about brain and parasympathetic nerves that runs from the brains to the outward part of the body, we still are into this particular part that we have two more minds that are there.
Hmm.
One is your gut mind that we call in, right? So that is also one thing. And in my research and in my understanding and talking about is most of the time 70% of the time the communication of the environment is carried from your gut to your brain. So your brain has a very limited because brain has the interpretation of the sensory that has been given to them. It is not about he goes and sends it. It is the body who sends everything, and the information is given to the brain to
Brain.
interpret it. That what it is. Like if I have raise heartbeat, then I would just go back to the brain and give that this is what is happening in my body. So the body will say, okay, this is what is the problem is. then the brain would go to the pattern. Okay, what happened when this particular thing has arrived? It was just before looking at some, my crush in my college and some kind of a things, or if I saw a policeman on the intersection. So it would bifurcate
Okay.
all the scenarios, and then it would come up with the visual of it, and then it will try to understand, okay, this is what it is. So
Mhm.
just to clear the audience, that definitely when we talk about brain, and if you see that there are a lot of neural cells that are also there into your guts. So if you have eaten something that is not cordial to your system, that also can trigger a stress hormone.
Totally.
That can also create a situation of panic. So sometime it would be like, I'm not thinking about everything, but my body is responding in such a way. So
Yes.
that is also a decoding that you have to do. So very well said. We are what I can say. We are like three worlds living in one body or in one system, and we have to coordinate, with each other in order to get an idea about how the reality is, the inner reality, the outer reality, and we have to mismatch and to balance it. That is where the stillness come in play. Because
Right.
to be very honest, on a surface level, or when you are inside that particular system, you would always see a chaotic situation altogether when we are just trying to pinpoint a stability in that chaotic water. And I have always seen that, yes, when we are looking at the face value of any emotional event or any other situation, your consciousness is on the surface level, and that this is where the chaotic response are there, the anxiety, the palpitation, even the trauma like situation that are there. So all those things come in play. And why I want to bought this particular podcast, or this the topic, like shut up and try and feel, that is because language become a shield against your true experience. That is one thing, because language is powerful, and also it is protective. So
Correct.
what happened now, when we see at language is very it is also hypnotic and also delusion. So the problem with the language is that we are not in total understanding. As you rightly said, that the limbic system has developed. Like
Hmm.
it has developed, and then our prefrontal cortex and other gray matters have developed over it. So we are people who work on the emotions and the the perceived threat that is there. So that's why language becomes a shield. We utilize it for making that part of, like, we try to affirm ourselves with positive thoughts, but it would be a temporary mandate kind of a solution what you're trying to do, right? So what really means it language is powerful, as I told you, that but it is also protective, is when, like, we have to look it over here, like what that looks like in real life. Okay, so there are two things that are there. The explainer. Okay, we have an explainer inside us. Okay, he will talk in a certain language, that I know that I have a trust issue because of the childhood wounds and trauma. uh, he would intellectualize a certain kind of a trauma, and he will say, like, does it sound insightful? And he will say, yes, right, yes, it sounds insightful, because this particular behavior is because of my childhood memory. So, but what if you ask yourself, where do you feel it right now in your body when you say that? Now, this is where you're trying to understand, is your body out of that trauma or not? You might
Right.
intellectualize, your brain might intellectualize, okay, this is what it is there, but your body keeps the score. And your language is very good in terms of making it a kind of a deluded picture in front of you. Okay, no, don't think of that, let's go to another part. Okay,
Right.
so this is where we have to start asking a question, then we have to pause, and definitely the pause, the stillness would be definitely covered by Dr. Shalini in a very better way, but I'm just giving you the analogy over here. So then we have to pause. They don't know, like, what is happening there. So in my client sessions as well, when they come up with all that furious emotions in front of me, I always tell them that if you have an emotional problem or a mind problem, always start a solution with the body. You can't have a mind problem solved with the mind. You have to involve your body, because your
True.
body has a different way of doing it, but the language is different. You can't speak to your body the way you speak to your mind. So this is where the stillness come in
Mhm.
play. And the second one is the rationalizer, that is also there. One is, as I told you, one is the explainer, and the second is the rationalizer. What he will say in a scenario, that I understand why he did that, and I
Mhm.
forgive him. It's a classic situation. Okay, like, I would say like I forgive this particular person. I understand that what he have done, and we have this particular kind of conversation. I forgive her. I forgive him. But the voice is tight. The breath is shallow. They can't look in my eyes like most of the time they said I tell them that just forgive that particular person. They can't do that. Okay. Now this is where this is why, because forgiveness or forgiving language is utilized to avoid the feeling of betrayal. We are very good at that. So
Right.
forgiveness language is utilized to doing that particular part. So when I come in this particular session, I ask them a reflective question that what would happen if you just sat in this feeling without explaining it? And that's really hard. Let me tell you one thing. When you are furious with emotions, and when I tell you to sit with that emotion, that is the biggest task in the world. And that is the most excruciating thing that a brain can do, is because brain want to walk and run with that particular thought and with that feeling, and you are going to apply your brain your brakes with your body. That is something that is little bit, it is doable with the stillness technique, which we are just going to get into in the moment of time. And that is where uh, there is a question that I again ask them, like, can you drop the story and stay with the sensation in the body? And mind loves stories, because if mind mind is someone who tend to develop a story. Like there was one very good experience experiment that was done. And if the audience are there, I want to just to give that particular experience to them, that I will come up with like two things in front of me right now, and I will say one statement that mobile phone is the father to remote control. Okay. Now this is a statement, and I want you to give me an answer on that, or think of that answer, that mobile phones are father to remote. Okay. So I want you to come up with an answer for that. So you can come up with a answer in the chat box or anything where you want to, or you can just uh, do a thought kind of a process in your mind that okay, why it is. So Dr. Shali, you want to give you a try? Like why I'm making this statement? Why mobile phones are like fathers to remote control? What would be your
Hmm.
logic?
Hmm. Very interesting, actually. I don't know. I'm not able to give it a
But
thought,
if
actually.
you want to make a sense of it, like what do you think? Why I'm calling mobile phones as fathers to remote control?
Because of what a remote could do, a mobile could do much more than that.
Okay. So now
You
I'm
only
just
have.
giving you,
Hmm.
this is an untrue statement altogether. This is a made up one.
Correct, of
Right. So
course.
but
Of course.
but in our mind, we tend to make those particular sense of
We're
any
trying to
situation where
connect the dots
yeah, we
in some
tend to
manner.
connect, because mind don't love open loops. That's the main problem. And it would make such a kind of a story which will make sense to our filters and the way we have been raised, the belief system that we have. And we try to make the conformity bias so much evident by making the story that falls under our lap, not in the other person. We want to make ourselves as the victim and the person who is far more smarter than the other person. So that is
Mhm.
what the brain is there, because brain don't want to keep you in such a kind of emotional stress of you being
Yeah, because the
yeah,
function, the primary function of what brain is trying to do is protect you,
protect
right?
us. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is the reason whenever you try to get into a strict discipline, the brain tells you this is going to be very dangerous. Don't do
Dangerous.
it.
The storytelling. That's why the
Yes.
rationalism, the explainer and the rationalizer. There are two people who are sitting inside a brain who are making all those pattern that is there. So even if you're feeling certain kind of emotion, if I'm feeling like a certain kind of congestion in my throat, or then that pain has been elevated to my chest. Now,
Hmm.
what I would do is why the chest is paining. Like I would go back and look at the events that are happening around me. The heart attack. One thing that comes directly flash news is there is an heart attack issue. Okay. Now I can't even look at my body weight, age, or anything as a parameter to even get into that category, because now everything has been cancelled out. Even if you're 23, 19,
True, true,
49,
true.
athletic bodybuilder, nothing applies to heart attacks now. Like anybody can get a heart attack. It is
Anybody
like
can
just a
get
lot
it. And
thing.
any time of the day. It could
Anytime,
be early morning.
anytime of the day. So now that is what the pattern would follow. Okay. And as Socrates say that we suffer a lot in our brain than in reality, and this is what our brain does. And when we started making, kind of a thing like, yes, this is what is happening with me, and your brain start giving you the indication, okay, now you are getting pain over here, look at your back, it is a little bit tighter now. Now the brain will start making that particular story, and your body will start acting on it. So this is where, the psychosomatic, the language as a protector and the delusion, it works so well in that particular pattern that we are not able to pinpoint, just
Mm-hmm.
because we are not stable. Just the stillness is missing out because we have not practiced it. And this is what the anatomy of the entire language is there, because as you see, language is used as a shield, to stay safe from the pain. As Shalini told that, yes, we are our brain is trying to protect us. So brain don't want to get in that painful memory to be, reverberating in our brain. So let's have a story, let's conclude it, and let's move forward.
Move forward.
Let's don't have anything loose and, coming up. So this is where the entire language becomes a barrier in healing. And I felt
Right.
a dire need of making this particular podcast, because there is a lot many things that are there. It is just one window that we are open, and we are just trying having a glance about how vocabulary is being utilized, how language is being utilized. And as I am doing NLP, so neuro linguistic programming, in which language and hypnotherapy, and when you're what kind of language you use, and how your brain actually go to different perceptory models or receptory models, and how you create a story around it. It is
True.
very fascinating, and it is very realistic. And when it is happening in your own voice, and with your own stories, and with your own past experience, I will damn you that you would never stop saying that this is not a reality. This is not a dream. It is a reality. That is what everybody concludes. So when you're making sure that you are over intellectualizing your emotions, please stay out of this trap of rationalizing and making it more of an explainer kind of a trap, because it would keep you in loop. It would always keep you in loop, and that would create such a kind of an environment that either you have to distract yourself, or either you have to numb yourself. So numbing can happen through constant exposure to intoxication, like relying
So
on other drugs and
antidepressants,
other
right?
things, antidepressants, or even alcohol, or any kind of addiction that you have developed. Now mobile phones are coming up as equivalent to cocaine kind of an simulation that has been prepared. So now, if you see yourself after a certain kind of event, if you're restoring to a certain kind of addiction, that is a clear cut pattern that you have started over rationalizing your emotions. And because of this cognitive load, you're trying to avoid the pain through the stories that mind is telling you, and that's why you're going to that particular part. So when you see yourself, you caught in this particular, two friction. There is two friction that is going on: the listener, the explainer, and the rationalizer. If you are into this particular grind in between, one technique that Dr. Shalini will talk about, and again, I will just give you one thing from dropping from head to body. That is one technique that I will talk after the end of this particular. Once Dr. Shalini has talked about her technique, and then we'll go to this technique, and we'll open up for the question. Yes, over to you, Dr. Shalini.
Yes, right. So stillness is the technique which I'm going to talk about. How we can be in stillness, and how when we are totally still, like you rightly said, when the water is disturbed, if you put the stone in it, you obviously cannot see anything, right? It's only the ripples. And when it settles down, when there's no ripple there, the water is absolutely still, you can actually see to the depth of the water, right? And you can even possibly see stones and other, fishes and other things. Because when the water is still, is then that is when you can clearly look within. And the same is with the mind. The more the thoughts, the more the ripples. Once we settle them with a quiet mind, through some breathing techniques, we will be able to look better into our thoughts and our emotions, what we are talking about today. And once we have completely absorbed the emotion, we will be able to dissipate it and transcend it. We are actually talking of transcending, going above them so that they no longer bother us. And one indication is, for example, you've had a fight with your boss, or in other, like in a daily basis, if you're had a fight with your spouse, when you have completely annihilated the emotion, you should be able to be absolutely normal. When you speak to the person, if you are feeling anything in your stomach, if you are, you are getting that, still getting a little bit of a rage when or you're not able to look the person in the eye, that means you have not yet gotten over the emotion. So that is how we check it on our own self. And I'll give you a small demonstration of how we do the stillness technique, and then we'll talk about it more. Okay? We start. Everybody, please, whoever is live with us or anybody who watches this later, please sit comfortably, preferably with a backrest so that your back is well supported and that should not bother you. I want you to keep your feet on the floor. Okay, so if you're sitting on a couch which is higher than your height, I would recommend you keep a pillow or a stool under your feet so that it is well grounded. Okay, that is the main point. And if you're sitting on the floor, let your feet be outstretched and be comfortable. Gently close your eyes and observe your breath. My body is absolutely comfortable. Hands are either on my thighs or beside you, wherever they feel better. Palms are facing the ceiling. Fingers naturally curled and well spaced out for a good flow of energy. One prerequisite, please keep the spine erect. So you could also do it lying down on the floor or on the bed. But again, there's always a risk that you might fall asleep. We have to stay conscious through the process to be able to get the full benefit of it. So please sit comfortably, take a deep breath, and let there be a smile on your face. Enjoy the process. Breathe in and breathe out. Take the awareness to the tip of your nose. Notice how the breath feels cool as you breathe in and warm as you breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now shift your awareness to the chest area. Breathe into your chest. Breathe in, push the chest out. Breathe out, pull it in. Breathe in and breathe out. Now shift the awareness to the stomach region. Breathe into your stomach. Breathe in, push the stomach out. Breathe out, pull it in. Deep abdominal breathing, known to be the most relaxed. Stillness of the body leads to stillness of the mind. Now let us get our body in complete stillness, starting from our feet. Take the awareness to your legs, relax them. Make sure your feet and toe are still. Move the awareness to your hands, relax them. Keep your finger and palm absolutely still. Take the awareness to your shoulders, keep them relaxed, especially during deep breathing. Take the awareness to your head, neck, and back, keep them in one line. coming to the mouth. Gulp in the extra saliva and try not to take the saliva in while we observe stillness. Take the awareness to the nose, relax your nostrils, and keep breathing normally. Take the awareness to your eyes, relax them. Fix your gaze between the eyebrows with your eyes closed and still your eyeball and eyelids. Take the awareness to the forehead, keep it relaxed. You might feel certain twitching or itching somewhere in the body, especially if you're new to the practice. Wherever you're feeling the twitch, just breathe into that area and allow the body to become still. Any thoughts coming to your mind, just allow them to be. Become a silent spectator of your own thoughts. Just remember not to engage with them. Let them come and go. Right now, your entire body, from head to toe, is in absolute stillness. The only movement allowed is the movement of the breath, natural breath. We will continue into this physical stillness for the next 1 minute, and I will keep the count. Wiggle your toes. Gently move the fingers of your hands. Relax your shoulders. You can gulp in the saliva in your mouth now. Gently rub your palms. Transfer this warmth to your eyes. While looking at your palms, blink open your eyes. Thank you. You're on mute, Abhijit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, those experiences which are really valuable when you are trying to settle yourself. And I know all the listeners who have gone through this particular process. There is the advancement of this particular process is something that I would discuss in few minutes. That is there, or just with the stillness when you are in the middle of the stillness, when you actually suspend yourself into the 1 minute of void that is there, and And the technique that I was talking about, the same thing, because the stillness is achieved by going from your body, relaxing it, and being more aware of your body. And breath is the only tool that you have to center yourself when you are emotionally and mentally want to achieve calmness. So once you are in that particular 1 minute, and you are plunging yourself into that particular void of 1 minute, before that, if you are able to bring in any of the situation that you have gone through, let's say example that there has been certain kind of relationships tensions, or there is some kind of fight that is there, or any kind of issue, anything that is lighter on note, not something that there is a kind of a trauma that is there. I don't want you to bring trauma in this particular space. I want you to bring you, I want you to bring a very small discomforting event. Anything that can be there. It can be an event where you might have saw your friend who has not been in touch with you for a longer time, or you had certain kind of disruption to connection. So any kind of those kind of situations. Okay. So now once you have that situation, in your mental space, you get that particular into a mental space, you will try and feel those emotions, and those emotions will end up in creating certain kind of tension in your body. It might be in your neck, shoulders, your chest, or your gut, or might be any part of your body. This is where as Dr. Shalini has said, that okay, this is where you have to go. And then the stillness, then what you have to do is, if you have that kind of a any kind of uptightness, or stretch, you just have to breathe in from that particular part of your body. This is where, as Dr. Shalini might be also aware, that it is called as Pran Shakti. We tend to take Pran
Right.
Shakti from there, or the Chi as we call. And this is where we try relaxing or making a space for the emotion to pass through that particular part of our body. Because
Right.
as I was being keep on saying the same sentence again and again, that the body keeps score. And if you're not letting that particular emotion pass away, that would keep on resurfacing in some other form or not. It would keep on processing. So the emotional processing is a small technique. I'm not saying this is the only technique. This is one of
Right.
the technique which we try to establish when we are doing certain kind of stillness activity. And as I told you, this is just level one technique. There are
Correct.
there are n number of techniques which actually takes you more deeper to your realization that how bigger the issue is, and how repressed for a longer time that particular issue is, and how much of complexity that particular issue has. Because if we
Correct.
see an emotional burden, or the emotional processing that we have, as I told you earlier, that we are a complex being, and our emotional interpretation of every event is very complex. And stillness can give you an opportunity to actually unwind yourself from that. We are not saying that it is going to disappear magically. That is not
No.
our promise. The issues would be there. The only thing would happen is you would become still in order to just view the darshan bhav.
Hmm.
In you would be more emphasized and more empowered, and that would give you the stillness that you are looking forward for, and that would give you a way forward to bypass that particular event. That is what the entire therapy that me, Dr. Shalini, is trying to achieve through this particular even through this particular awareness session that we're trying to do.
Correct.
When Shalini, Dr. Shalini was talking about those particular how psychosomatically you have to calm your body, because as I told you earlier, that mind is not capable of handling emotional questions or
Yeah.
emotional traumas. Your body is able to handle it. And this is the only way inside, that you can go inside and you try and, I think it is encounter those particular issues. And after encountering, you don't have to fix it. That is the main thing. We tend to get that, okay, I encountered it, now I have to fix it. But don't fix it.
Yes.
Just watch it. And watching itself make it, I think, that is the secret of it. I don't
Right.
want to make it very into a four corner wall about what the experience might be, because
Hmm.
it is very subjective.
Correct.
Watching itself can it is very therapeutic. That is where the healing happen,
True.
and everybody would feel that healing in a different way. It can be through crying, it can be through expression, it can be through transmuting that particular emotion into some other creative format. There are n number of possibilities, and the stillness has worked so wonderfully for me. I have because I think every therapeutic and every person who is into therapy has has been the first client of that particular therapy, and he is himself. Because we
Absolutely.
see all the therapists in the world, and I can say 99.9% would be a victim first, and then they have transmitted themselves into some healer. And if you are also feeling certain kind of challenge in your life, don't get afraid of it, because it is just a stepping stone. Because emotions are a signal. It is not the end of any kind of situation. It is just a signal. Emotion tells you that this is what the problem is, or this is what has to be healed. I would not say a problem, because it will take directly to your brain. I will say this is a healing that you require. This is a kind of a healing, and it is also a kind of a passage to growth. I would never say it is a passage to limitation, but it is passage to growth. It would look narrow, it would look darker, but it would always have a light at the end of the tunnel. That is what how I look at every challenge and adversity that you are faced. And let's not expect life to be fair. I always tell all my clients and all my people who I touch and talk with them that life is not going to get easier. The only thing would happen is you are going to get more stronger. That is the only difference in healing,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I want to engulf and encapsulate in what Dr. Shalini has talked about, and what therapy after that is there. If you want to have, because this therapy won't be into one micro session. The therapy would happen
Correct.
to different sessions, because it is a progression. It is a journey that you guys want to take towards that particular, I won't say a destination, but how you prepare yourself for taking the next path towards whichever life that you want to, envision yourself for yourself. So this is what entire, what I can say, the efforts what you're putting into this particular coach pod that we call it, where we try to, what I can say, disintegrate and dissect a certain problem through stillness and certain kind of psychotherapeutic therapeutic kind of tools, what we can discuss right now. But to get a proper healing in a guided way and a correct
Yes.
way, and handholding that is required, because all the emotional nuances are different, the magnitude are different.
Correct.
Basic things you can try, you can do it, but we would recommend that a professional, a person who has guided a lot many people, would have a different perspective and a view towards it. So it can be taken as a disclaimer that we are talking about, but definitely healing can happen through people who are expert and who are formally trained in it.
Correct.
So this is just a beginning, just a first step towards your journey towards healing. And I hope that we were able to make certain kind of therapeutic tools available for you firsthand, to just get the glimpse of it. And as far as any kind of query or any kind of questions are there, me, Shalini is there on Facebook. I am there on LinkedIn. Even our contact numbers are there onto our YouTube video description, so you can directly get in touch with us and talk on this particular topic more into depth, and to start your healing journey with us. So if you have any questions, whoever is live can ask those questions, or Dr. Shalini, if you want to add something, we can have that for 2 minutes, and then we can take any question if they are there.
Yes, if there's a question, they are most welcome. But I would just like to add that it is like you just said, it is very important to know when you need to actually see a professional and when you can handle it on your own. So, identifying a problem, sitting with it, experiencing it, and knowing, having that discretion when you need to approach a professional should be a person intellectually should be able to make. And then, of course, do seek help, which will really expedite your healing journey. And then, of course, the sky is the limit to growth, right? You can, once you are able to overcome, once you get the tools, once you have the help, you will not need to go back again and again, because then you would know how exactly to handle yourself. So,
True. True. I think we don't have any questions. I've just checked the chat. We don't have any questions, but definitely it doesn't mean that future audience and people who want to watch this particular recording won't have. Our
right.
YouTube channel is open, so that comment box is open, and definitely we'll try to answer whatever questions you have. And as I told you earlier, we are just one DM away and one call away. If you seek any kind of help in terms of any issues that you're facing, which are in our scope and which are falling under our expertise, we will definitely come up and help you guys. So great. I think we can wrap up this particular session with a with a vote of thanks to Dr. Shalini for making it to the second episode on such a short notice, and the kind of dedication and kind of involvement that you have already portrayed and expressed into this particular podcast. I really felt so what I can say, touched in terms of as a healer to healer, because
Yes,
I
definitely,
think
Abhijit. You are very passionate. I think we have to keep checking on that, that we shouldn't keep talking too much also. Sometimes it's important to talk.
we
But
yes,
yes, yes.
we
It's a
that
very
is
beautiful
the
way to, yeah.
yeah, that is how we are connected. I think that is what cements our interaction more in terms of making this as a therapeutic and a healing kind of a session and conversation to whoever is listening to. And we are going to come up with too many interactions on this, and definitely if things allows us, definitely we're going to venture and collaborate with each other. Great. So we can call it this particular as a wrap for this session. And thank you so much, Dr. Shalini, and thank you all who
Thank you,
have
Abhijit.
joined
Thank
us.
you, everybody.
And
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.